Hey, welcome back everybody. Gonna do a little update on the front end mount for the guide. When I put the spacers on it that I showed you the other day that we're gonna have the wires running through, and I squished them theoretically so it'd be flush with the bottom, that did not work out. I set my guide too high and the tires were not touching the track, and I'm sure you know what that means with any car. That's not a good idea. So I took those off and I made some shorter spacers using scraps cut off from these side rails. It's actually two stacked, so it's two thicknesses of this, and that came out to be just about one thickness recessed up into the top. And that worked out to be perfect, where I can put one thin shim and the tires just touching nicely. And after I true them a little bit, I might end up taking that shim out, but we'll see. So, moving on from there, what we'll do today is I'm going to put the mount the motor and solder on the wires and get that going. And at that point, put the axles together. This thing should be a runnable car. Now, if you notice here, I did drill some holes for the mounts for the body, which I have not put on yet, but I ground a little out here, and I'm going to glue in some wood scraps I have. And after playing with it, getting the height that I want, turns out that if I have this flat on the table and two fairly thin, they're actually ice cream sticks, stuck on here, set on there, holding the body off, is perfect for this particular body. Most bodies, I kind of like the bottom of it to go flush with the chassis rails, but this thing sits up. These old Fords are funny. You can't fit the tires up in there any further unless I can ground just about all of it out. So a little bit sticking up, and you'll see a little bit of the chassis sticking out underneath it. It'll be as good as it gets. So let's mount this motor in here. Brilliant. And I use my, let's see, rather small Phillips head screwdriver, and should, oh, perfect. Sometimes it's tough getting those started, and sometimes they're perfect. Oops. And they will stick to your motor if you drop them. So if you drop a screw and you lose it and you can't find it, check your motor. It oftentimes is stuck right to it. So this is the HRW motor mount as opposed to the JK brand. JK sticks down about the thickness of one of these beyond. So when they made this one, they made it flush to the bottom of the motor, which works out pretty nicely for our smaller scale cars. On the other one, you can get away with the motor up, sitting up higher, and drop your rails down, get a little more lower ground clearance, but this works for those too. So anyway, I like to snug that up pretty good. I'll probably take it off at some point and clean the brass all up anyway, but all right. So just for a helping hand, I'm going to stick this in here and solder the wires first. I've never used one of these, and I'm used to the type where you screw them on. So anyway, this is going to be fun. I'm not the best solderer in the world, and for this I'm using an old, I think it's a 40 watt, might even be 25 watt. This thing's ancient. I had it when I was a kid in school doing some electronics class, which no, I'm no expert. Put on my fan because I really don't like that stink of nose. So I tinned the end of these, and let's hope it goes well, because it'll give you a lot of space there to work with. So, It's really best not to move your wire while it's drying, or cooling. It doesn't seem to stay there. This Panavise is great too. I've had it since I was probably a teenager, and I'm beyond teenage years now. Sometime in the 70s I got it. It's just handy. Oh, there we go. I skipped showing you putting the braids in because I did it the other day to test fit them and I didn't want to pull them out. But they're quite easy. And the little brass, I got another one here to show you. The brass end of it squeezes and you just shove it in the slot if you've never done them before. You push it as far in as it'll go. It bumps the end and then it leaves you a little open area there to solder to. And then you just bend them around the front, smooth them out, and there you go. I usually use the Slotting Plus type of guide, which goes in with a screw on the top, and the wires go in from the top like most of your regular ready to run with little ferrules. Kind of like them better, but this is what the kit comes with, and I think it works. And actually for this car it's going to work better because the clearance underneath that nose is pretty slim. I'll probably have to shave some of it off just to get it there. The other one I would have had to either tuck inside or cut a bunch of the front off. So what I'm going to do is feed my wires back through this way. You know, I tinned both ends, but I'm noticing that they're monstrously long for what we need. I'll probably tack them down later or something on here because I don't like them just free in there. They get in the way. They need to be glued in the middle, but gotta see how they fit first for a twist and everything. So let's see. Yeah, it's way more wire than I need, so we're gonna cut those off. Let's see. And we'll have to retin them. How short do we want it? We'll go with that. See, I tinned it ahead of time so I didn't embarrass myself by doing a bad job at it. Now I gotta do it again. So. There we go. All right. After this, it should be a drivable chassis anyway. Oops. Like I said, I did it off camera because it would work better. It worked perfect the first time. How it goes. Let's see. It's okay. Nothing was harmed. Let's try this one. I imagine the majority of you are way better at the soldering than I am. But Jeez. Well, it'll work. And when you're looking at the Predator motors, the wires just go on the same side as the guide. No crisscrossing unless you flip your motor over. But if you got your contacts at the top, that's the way it'll be. And normally, sometimes I like to stick the wire through, but let's see if we can. I don't know why I'm testing things out and live on camera, but it's not gonna stick. Yeah, it did. Okay, that'll work. It'll work. Oops. Alright, well now I got a telephone ringing. Stuck. It's more than likely good enough. If it's not, we'll do it another time. But anyway, there we go. Front end wired. Like I said, I'll put a little glue to hold these down in the center so they go between my spacer. It's not going to do it till I'm sure it's good. And let's see. This ought to fit. Fumbling around while trying to hold your hands in the middle of the viewing screen. There we go. And that's how it's gonna be. So I'm gonna make myself some wooden pieces for here, glue them in, set that up, drill them, and we'll see, get that fitted. And then at some point, figure out how to squeeze this little flathead motor in there. Gonna have to go around that. A little cutting, a little shaping. But for the most part, there's the chassis. And that's how most people will see it. I think it's gonna go pretty good. All right, hope you're all getting one of these kits and building one yourself. And if you don't buy the kit, just buy a whole bunch of parts and build it. However you want to do it, just build it. All right, hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.